All right, so welcome to our 2020 Earth Day webinar, Taking Action While Sheltering in Place. I want to start off with some introductions and say thank you to the partners that contributed to this presentation and have been working really hard to create actions for the Oakland community. So we've got representation from Oakland Unified, the City of Oakland Public Works, Stop Waste, Mycelium Youth Network, Youth vs. Apocalypse, and Rotary Nature Friends. And of course, there are many more partners that contribute to this in other ways. We've got Wanda here from Common Vision as well, so can't possibly name all of them. And it's a constantly growing list, but these have been some of the key people that jumped on board to create this webinar for today. And the real outcome is we just hope to all get inspired and commit to taking action for Earth Day and beyond. Like was mentioned earlier, Earth Day every day. And so what the hour is going to look like is we're going to acknowledge our Indigenous land and our ancestors, as well as the history of environmentalism in Oakland, get a brief background on Earth Day past and present in Oakland, hear from all of the planned actions our partners have put together, and then we're going to go into breakout rooms so that you can discuss actions that spoke to you, hopefully get any questions you have answered, and think about how you can share this with your wider networking community to take action even while we're sheltering in place. And then we have some students so that if you can stay on the call past our planned hour, that have a presentation to lead us through right after we close out. You just stay on this call and you can take action right away with them. All right, so I'm going to pass it over to Wanda.
Hi, everybody. Blessings in the times of Corona. It's really pretty serious business we're dealing with. Sarah asked me to share what my favorite place in Oakland was. And even before we got to the place where we are today, my favorite place in Oakland is the Hoover Hawks Victory Garden. And let me just say that we named it the Victory Garden in part after a wonderful school garden educator named Victory Lee. But we are also very proud to be a Victory Garden because we need them on the planet now. It is my favorite place now in these times because this is the day that Oakland closed schools. And do you see those happy smiling faces? There's not fear in them at all. All of the kids in Hoover took home supermarket bags full of collard greens and oregano and plantain and mint and mullein, all of the respiratory herbs, and everybody got to take some home because you see we have a sea of collard greens. And the wonderful thing for me in retrospect was realizing that this small set of Hoover kids, when they remember this day as they grow, they're going to say that the day the virus came, we got to harvest the food we'd grown. We were able to feed ourselves and our families and our communities, and we know how to do it wherever we are sheltered. And I just found that to be an amazingly powerful understanding about the impact of that garden, not just for the times today, but also in the culture of the school generally. Do we want to ask people to talk about their favorite ones, or you just want me to keep going, Sarah?
I think everyone can really hold in their mind a favorite place in Oakland and keep that with you as you as we move forward. So Wanda, you can keep going, but that's a good prompt for everybody to consider.
Great. So as we talk about favorite place in Oakland, we are learning, particularly again in these days and times, to really hold up and acknowledge folks who made this world possible. Here in the Bay Area, we live on Chochenyo land and Kark and Ohlone land. And it is important that we honor that with every step we take. We might not be able to undo the injustice and the oppression, but in moving forward and stewarding that land, we can at least acknowledge that giving. Also, there is something called the Shumi land tax. And that's a way to acknowledge that history and contribute to the Ohlone community's work in accordance with what you earn and can offer. So we encourage everyone to look into that. I also personally always honor these four ladies as representatives of my ancestors. You know, the land was taken from the indigenous folks, and then my people were brought from Africa to farm that land, and we continue to give in very significant ways to this country after quite a lot of oppression. So it is important for me to lift these ladies up, to acknowledge their work, know that all of them are in the picture are over 100 years old when this was taken. And for me, what that says, given what they went through, that eating organic food, working hard with your body, having meaningful relationship with the community around you, and having a spiritual connection to the land, magnifies resilience. And that's what we need today. So moving forward, I stand on their shoulders and use them to power me and propel me, not just to teach my own people, but the rainbow of people on the planet. And that's what's called for today.
Thank you, Wanda. My name is Mike Perlmutter. I work for the City of Oakland Environmental Services. And in the spirit of calling in ancestors, I also wanted to call in some of the legacy of environmental work that we enjoy here in Oakland and in the Bay Area. This year is not only the 50th Earth Day, but it's also the 150th anniversary of Lake Merritt, the oldest designated wildlife refuge in the country. It started right here. And it kept going from there. Sierra Club was founded in the Bay Area. Golden Gate Audubon, founded over 100 years ago. Save the Bay started the first real organized coastal protections for the country and set landmark legislation moving forward. And then we've got our own, very homegrown local efforts to plant trees in Oakland, to clean up air in Oakland, to protect community health in Oakland. And it continues today. You'll hear a little bit about some work of my colleagues on the Oakland Equitable Climate Action Plan that will be released this year. And this is just a short list of some of the efforts and organizations that we're building from. We're all, in addition to our ancestors and to all the people who have contributed. So with that, I think we'll move into a little bit of history of Earth Day and how it's looked in Oakland.
Yeah, and as Deirdre's getting ready to share, feel free to use the chat to share with us individuals, organizations, and history you're thinking about and you'd like to acknowledge. And I was just reminded of activity we were thinking about holding up as an Earth Day action is to interview an elder, whether that be for students, a parent, or in a way digitally, someone else to learn about their experiences with Earth Day. So I'm reminded of that as an action to take for Earth Day as we're moving forward into next week. So Deirdre.
Great. Hi, everyone. Happy to be here and with all these inspiring people and presenters and participating in this workshop. I'm going to go into the next slide, and I found a nice historical photo from Los Angeles. It was next Wednesday, the 22nd, as people know, is the 50th anniversary. And that was when there were massive protests. 1 in 10 people in the States went to the streets to call out pollution and environmental destruction. And it was really considered the birth of the environmental movement. We can see that's when the EPA, just later that same year, was the start of the EPA. And next slide, we can talk about Oakland Earth Day. So this is actually the 26th year. I found some slides related to schools, tree planting. This is at Global Family School. There's a little spork project you see where it says Special Earth. That was actually helping to raise awareness for the youth of single-use plastic. I think it started off with each of the classrooms. The teachers did some math and figured out how much they're producing. And then so it was some math, and then there was some art involved. And here's an example of one class. And next photo, some more historic Oakland Earth Day photos. This is more the older youth, teenagers. I see Lake Merritt Institute up there at the table at the top left. They work with volunteers, clean up trash that gets into Lake Merritt. The Rotary Nature Center, shout out. That's also over by Lake Merritt, and some nice historical photos there. Next slide kind of gives you an idea of what Oakland Earth Day looks like. This was last year, which was the 25th anniversary for Oakland. The sites, there's a lot of different activities that can happen, like we mentioned tree planting and habitat restoration at creeks and open space. There's also a lot of litter cleanup and graffiti abatement, like painting benches in parks, and general habitat restoration. For Earth Day, often we have a big Saturday event, and with schools, it's often maybe parent groups or partners who lead those projects, and then during the weekdays, during school hours, teachers lead projects, is what I've historically seen. It's my 5th Earth Day. And the next slide. That's want to let people know, this is actually my last slide, just to say that we, Oakland Public Works, the stewardship team, we do have these gloves, and we have a lot of tools and safety vests for volunteer efforts. And we look forward to collaborating with you guys on stewardship projects in the future. So thanks.
Great. So with that context, we're definitely in different circumstances right now. And so we wanted to think about things we can do while we're flattening the curve and sheltering in place and keeping our community healthy. And so through the brilliance of our partners, and I'm sure everyone on the call has a lot of ideas that we'll be able to share, we're going to hear about some actions and show you some digital places you can visit to find actions. And again, your goal here is to find something that's really speaking to you, that you might be able to commit to and share if you're a teacher with your students or with your family or with your network to encourage action. So as we go through, be really thinking about your favorite place in Oakland or what you're really passionate about and an action that speaks to you. So we'll start with the City of Oakland.
Awesome. So I'm Shirley Acuna. I'm with the Environmental Services team. I wanted to bring everybody to the landing page for Oakland Sustainability. The Sustainability team is part of the City of Oakland's Environmental Services Division, which is helping the city progress into becoming a more sustainable city. Currently, the 2030 Equitable Climate Action Plan, which is a highlighted green button there, is a plan that was devised by this team to help reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 56%. And next slide. The steps and targeted sectors are outlined in the 2030 Equitable Climate Action Plan. And this seeks to not only limit the drivers of climate change through local emissions, life cycle emissions, and carbon removal, but it's also wanting to make this transition to greener energy a more equitable and inclusive transition. Next slide. And there is more information on the 2030 ECAP in the climate change section of the Oakland Earth Day site. As everybody knows, April is Earth Day month, and like so many other events impacted by COVID-19, this event has been modified, and I've been helping rework the kind of digital strategy to engage folks while sheltering in place. The environmental services team with our collaborators of community partners and teachers in our network came up with 50 plus Earth Day activities to honor the 50th anniversary of Earth Day. So hopefully with the goal of shifting this kind of mindset from Earth Day being a single action or a single month orientated event to something that's more year round and accessible to folks. Another tab that I highly recommend folks here check out is the education tab, which has environmental classes, books, and videos for like a really broad range of ages, which I think will be really beneficial.
So I'll be talking about the education arm. This is Brazil Clark from Oakland Public Works. The education arm of our Oaktown Proud campaign. Proud stands for Prevent and Report Our Unlawful Dumping. We have a cohort of student ambassadors of Oakland Unified's own from Oakland and Skyline High. These are about 24 high school students who have been trained regarding illegal dumping, public speaking, behavior change, and the programs and services that we provide. This is a year-round program that consistently outreaches to their neighbors, peers, and community. Next slide. So for Earth Day, these student ambassadors will be creating how-to videos using the activities that are on the website. Of the 50 plus activities that you can do at home, they've chosen about 15. Those 15 videos will be posted to social media. A Kahoot will be associated with each video and used for a Facebook Live event. So topics that they have chosen already is how to track your carbon footprint, how to properly source and separate your waste. And so we'll be creating educational videos based on the activities that are provided. Next slide. And if you'd like to hear more about the Student Ambassador program or how it can possibly be expanded to your school, please stay online for a presentation. These presentations were to be given to middle school and elementary schools that feed into the high schools that are participating in the program. So if you'd like just more information on the Oaktown Proud campaign, this program in particular, and a viewing of the presentation that would be given, we'll just use about 15 minutes of your time directly after this call.
All right, thanks to City of Oakland. So keep those in mind, and the website link directly to them has been shared in the chat. I'm going to pass it over to Katie Noonan from Rotary Nature Center to talk about another way you might get involved with Earth Day or encourage your students to get involved with Earth Day.
Thank you, Sarah. So I want to echo what was just said. The City of Oakland has put together an amazing resource bank for everybody. So I am the chair of a local citizens action group promoting environmental education around Lake Merritt. It's called Rotary Nature Center Friends. And so I'd like to share with you a number of activities that we have highlighted that we think would be fun to do in classes and among students and teachers. So first, though, I'd like to share, I'd like to mention that I am probably the elder that you might want to interview. And I was wondering, because I have very little memory of the first Earth Day in 1970. And then I realized that I was a graduating senior at UC Berkeley that spring. And there was a great deal of focus on the war in Southeast Asia at that time, and I was very much involved in that, and that kind of overtook everything else that was happening. But in the since that time, I've come to really appreciate the First Earth Day celebrators and recognize that this was the beginning of our national environmental legislation regulations, which are currently really under some attack, and a way in which the average citizen voiced their concern for their common environment, our common environment. So the slide that you're seeing now shows some citizen science that was their community science that has been done by the Lake Merritt Institute, another organization I'm affiliated with, that invites citizens to help out taking trash out of Lake Merritt. And we can not only feel good about doing that and cleaning the lake, but we can also extract some information from that. And that's kind of the science part of it. And we can see that when citizens turn out for events like Earth Day, that a lot more trash is removed from the lake. And that we can also see that weather also impacts what we see. But if you're interested as a teacher in finding out more about how you can help, Lake Merritt Institute sends out a speaker to talk about the water quality in Lake Merritt and how you can help. And you can also, when it's safe to do so, bring students down to help out with that effort. Let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, these are some community science projects that I find really exciting. The first one is iNaturalist, which is an online application where you register and download a free app. And that allows you to take photos of nature all around you, anything that catches your eye, and upload it, where they will help you identify it, and it can be used by scientists around the world in their work. It's a great way to get started, and you don't have to know really anything to get started. You'll learn a lot about your environment, the web of life that you're in the middle of, and how everything interacts. Another really cool application from iNaturalist is the program called Seek. And this is a little less involved, but it ends up giving you on your phone a collection of species that are all around you and information about it, so that you can really zero in on your local environment. If you're interested in trying to do this, you can use this application to go to your exact house and make your own little investigation in your house or your backyard, return to it, and just start to build up a greater awareness of all the living things that help sustain us, that are in your house. And then the City Nature Challenge is promoted by the California Academy of Sciences. This year, they are providing ways to get involved without going outside your house, and I mentioned 2 of those ways. And there are also some ways in which you can go out and shelter in place and collect information and upload it. This is not a competition this year, and it's a great way to support environmental awareness and education in our local community. Let's go to the next slide, please. Here are some additional things that you can do that do not require going outside. One that I'm kind of attached to is taking a look at what's underneath the surface of Lake Merritt in the water. So Rotary Nature Center Friends has an underwater robot that goes and takes videos. You can go in and look at those videos and see what's actually underneath the water in Lake Merritt, and give us some feedback about what you see. There's a guide there as to what organisms you might find, and there's just a lot of ways you can interact with that library of videos to create your own science investigations. Then I'd like to call out the Save the Bay Backyard Botany Project, which is a way that you can go and take a look at the plants that normally would have lived around the Oakland area, before it was greatly impacted by humans. Then the Sierra Club has a project in which people make posters for Earth Day and for environmental activism to display in their window. And then later, when it becomes safe, they can carry them to a rally. And finally, another hugely interesting resource is backyard nature journaling. You can find downloadable templates for that from the Oakland Zoo site, and I highly recommend them. An interesting thought we had also was, how does our carbon footprint right now, while we're sheltering in place, compare with what it was maybe 3 or 4 months ago when the economy was booming? What are we doing differently now? What might we be willing to continue if it helps the planet? Let's go on to the next slide, please. So again, this is harking back to the wonderful resource provided by the City of Oakland. You'll find activities to do under community science, under education, climate change, nature. All of these are wonderful activities, and if you take a photo of yourself doing them and upload it to the City of Oakland website, that will complete the loop for making it a community science activity. Let's go on. I think that might be my last slide. Let's see.
Yeah,
Yes.
so much.
Thank you so much.
And passing it over to Angelina from Stop Waste.
Hello, everybody. My name is Angelina Vergara, and I'm the Stop Waste Schools Program Manager. Next slide. But when I take action, I am Food Rescue Mama, and I'm representing today's schools team and our advisory group, which includes Nancy Deming from OUSD, as well as a partner with the Environmental Climate Change Literacy Group with OUSD. And we are going to just talk about our 20 actions to Earth Day 2020. And we essentially were brainstorming how can we make sure that students can take action at home. And we came up with an activity calendar, but also we were really trying to think about, this is a time of reflection being in the COVID-19 crisis. And we are also facing our climate change emergency crisis. So what can we do to really build and rebuild our story and think about what is our collective story? And that is really the heart of this project. And so the flow is essentially students and teachers get weekly e-news to learn about how to engage and take action at home. But really, this is about the power of storytelling. And the act of sharing your voice is an action that you can do every day. And then you track and you share your action. And then lastly, we will have a virtual Earth Day. Next slide, please. And we have tons of tools that we've developed along the way. It's truly about hearing feedback from the community. We've integrated lots of great ideas from the Oakland community specifically. We've integrated the 7 R's of sustainability that OUSD created. We also integrated parent and garden teacher voice, where on Responsibility Day, for example, we're really showcasing a letter writing campaign created by Sequoia Elementary. We've also integrated lots of stories as well in our gallery. Next slide, please. And what's it look like? So here is, we love ancestral stories. We love stories from the past. The first picture on the left of the slide are 2 boys that I worked with in Oakland 12 years ago who did our Earth Day video. And on our, I thought this would be a great example for remix. And they took Soulja Boy and made it 4 R's message. So that is in our activity journal, is remix a song. We also have showcased Wanda's story and how she basically rejuvenated the soil. That was lawn before Wanda came and just made it amazing. And we've been privileged and honored to work with her and partner with her. And on the right is another Sequoia Stop Food Waste Challenge, where students create, with our Smart Cafeteria Initiative and Nancy Deming support, we have created a Smart Cafeteria Initiative, and students take action by recovering food in the cafeteria. Next slide, please. And how does it look now? Again, just showcasing Wanda, giving her lots of love. She went right to her garden and she's storytelling on YouTube. So taking action to storytell. We have a redesign one, again, inspired by OUSD 7Rs. So let's redesign and make a mandala out of found objects. And Christian Aguilar, who is also our staff, but he's an Oakland resident and an artist, and his talented family created this incredible self-care video, because when we self-care, we really want to honor the healing process of what we're all going through. Next slide, please. And this culminates to what we're calling We Are the Regeneration, really collectively building this story of putting caring and people in the center, not corporations that may exploit and extract natural resources. That's my son, and he is participating on, if we ask you to do one thing, it'd be great to hear, what is your R? Please define it for us, and what does that mean? So what it says there is he said, I am part of the regeneration. I recreate old CDs and make a community fence mural. Next slide, please. And bringing it home that the climate change, food waste is the #1 contributor to climate change, and it's the #1 thing you can do to take action at home. And in these times of food insecurity, we really think this is a relevant message. Next slide, please. And we're showcasing in our gallery, this is a great slide that Hugo Gigor, one of our specialists in food waste, and he created this infographic that shows how Acorn Woodland and Encompass Academy in Oakland participated in our Stop Food Waste Challenge. And this is a citizen science project where students collected food that was then redistributed to ECAP in Emeryville. Next page, next slide, please. And so every day is Earth Day. We're hoping that people take action, but also to use it as a menu, because in May, next slide, please, we will have our social media contest. And this is the May the 4 R's Be With You, where we're asking students, anybody in Alameda County, to be creative and take action and tell us what your 4 R's are. So essentially, you tell stories, that story then is more stories, and then we end with a visual art mural. Next slide, please. So I just leave you with, please share your action story, join in the rebuilding of our collective regenerative earth story. And what is your R? How are you part of the regeneration? Thanks so much.
Great, thank you to Stop Waste and Angelina, and passing it over to Lil from Mycelium Youth Network.
So hi everybody, I'm Lil Milagro Enriquez. I'm the executive director and founder of Mycelium Youth Network. We actively prepare young people for climate change using a combination of ancestral traditions and wisdom and like hardcore, just like straight ahead STEAM projects. And then I forget, how do I move it to the next video? Thank you. And so I'll just talk super briefly about what Mycelium does and how we do it. So we started in 2017, and our mission is really to work with young people who are frontline youth, so predominantly low-income students of color, around climate change. And we, again, use a merger of indigenous ancestral traditions, or what is now referred to as traditional ecological knowledge, and just hardcore science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And our goal is to actively prepare kids for climate change. And we do some teaching about climate change and what that means, but we really focus on, as the world is rapidly shifting, what are the hands-on skills that young people are going to need to know in order to be able to adapt and survive. And so this picture on the left, or sorry, on the top left is a picture from our Science for Survival class, which was looking at like, how do we have young people prepare for earthquakes? What does that mean for them to have emergency bags ready? water supplies, that kind of thing. And the bottom was part of our like gardening ecology class that we were running actually with Head Royce. And so next slide. Thank you. Can I do it too? No, that's just you. Okay. So we run several different programs. We run a Growing Our Health program, which is looking at food, soil, and carbon sequestration, which is proven to be one of the only things that we can do now to start reverse engineering climate change and global temperatures, where young people learn about carbon sequestration and they start building carbon sequestration monitoring gardens at their schools. We also do a lot with plant medicine, permaculture, that kind of thing. We have a Water is Life program where young people directly talk about, we talk about the run for salmon that happens here in the Bay Area. And then young people learn how to build full-scale water catchment and purification units that they either attach to their classrooms or to their schools as a whole. We have a Clean Air is the Right program, which I'm going to talk about in the next slide. And then we have a Science for Survival program. And not quite yet, thank you, Sarah. So Science for Survival is just a hardcore, like straight ahead disaster preparedness. We talk to young people as, if the zombie apocalypse came, what would you need to know and what would you need to have? And so that's everything from like earthquakes, wildfires, water scarcity, droughts. The picture that you're seeing is actually two of our students in our Science for Survival program, where they were learning about different ways to do water filtration systems, as well as like if there was an earthquake, what are places that you can go to immediately gather clean water to drink. And then lastly, which I'm not going to talk about today, but I will have a link up, is like our resilience in pandemic time. So we did create online programming that right now we're running with about 110 young people. That's free online classes around social and emotional health, gardening, and plant medicine right now. And then we also have an adult section, which is more around social emotional health and gardening. And so thank you, Sarah. And so the one I wanted to talk about today is our Clean Air is a Right. And so what we do in this program, these are all pictures from our Clean Air is a Right program, is like young people look at wildfire season because it's something that's really relevant here in California. And we think about like, what are all the things that we need to know super local, so in our homes, right? So on the picture on the right is Danny actually who's one of our educators at a climate resilient village that we ran with Youth versus Apocalypse, teaching young people how to make DIY air purifiers. So here's how you can take $25 of materials and build an air purifier that works roughly as well as like a $150, $200 air purifier that you can buy on Amazon. And then we actually have like studies that have been done on these types of air purifiers to show that level to so your home, and then from something like an air purifier to also what we call a detox box, which is like, here's 6 or 7 simple ingredients that you can use in your home to start reducing the amount of toxic air particles that exist in your home, because oftentimes the air inside of your home can be more damaging than the air outside of your home. And so the picture on the top left is Phoenix Armenta, one of our educators, running one of those detox boxes, which is a DIY like household cleaner that we do. But we teach young people how to do the household cleaner, how to do salves, how to do lotions, how to do soap, all with the idea that like the more we go to more all natural products in our homes, the better it is for ourselves as individuals, our families, and the ecosystem. And so they learn about what that means when you have toxic chemicals that are in the water and in the air. And then lastly is young people learning about, the bottom picture is them learning about the different plants and their medicinal properties that should be used in the detox box. And so this is them choosing one herb that they wanted to learn about that had medicinal properties or cleaning properties or antibacterial properties, then taking like detailed notes, doing research, and then choosing very intentionally what they wanted to put in their detox box based on the health concerns of their families or their communities. And so then we end this project with looking at like, let's look at what does it mean for Oakland as a whole, and what are environmental air concerns for Oakland as a whole. The youth that we serve, because they are frontline youth, oftentimes have like horrible levels of air quality and high asthma rates. And so we start mapping out what those air quality rates look like. And so as part of our activism, Oakland as a whole, we do both tree planting, vertical gardens, as well as just like writing letters to politicians or just, you know, like the city council people to make sure that they're passing laws that are actually going to make it easy and accessible for young people to have cleaner air. And so my last slide is just a fantastic picture of me. I love this picture. It's one of my favorite pictures. I don't look like this anymore because of COVID-19. But is my information and how you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
Great, thank you, Lil. And our last share today is going to be from Youth vs. Apocalypse.
Hello, everyone. This has been really inspiring to hear. So YVA Youth vs. Apocalypse, and I can put our website in the chat, but it's just youthvsapocalypse.org. It's a youth-led climate justice organization. I'm one of the adult supporters. My name is Carolyn. I'm sorry I'm having issues with my connectivity right now, so I'm keeping my video off, but our organization is the group that did a lot of large climate strikes over the past year in San Francisco that involved many Oakland youth as well. For previous climate strikes, we had hundreds of Oakland youth that we were working with doing presentations in classrooms and then supporting with transportation and food to get to the climate strikes for the Bay Area. This time, obviously it's not happening in that form, but I think a lot of the work that we're doing right now is connected with something someone was sharing earlier around changing the narrative, changing the story about what's happening. And so we already were working with a theme before the COVID crisis, which is a hashtag, no one is disposable. And basically the work that we're doing is trying to create a story online that shows how this climate crisis is connected to what's happening with COVID-19 and what's also happening with our economic situation and with the overall sort of social situation in our society. So there's 4 days of the strike. Wednesday, the focus is on calling up different aspects of the Trump administration, from the EPA to ICE, and we're using the hashtag in addition to known as disposable resist Trumpocalypse. Thursday is targeting financial institutions, including CalSTRS, which is a teacher's retirement fund, which many teachers aren't aware is investing heavily in the fossil fuel industry. They have $6 billion invested in the fossil fuel industry and have been really resistant to youth calls to divest. So calling that out on Thursday. And then Friday is Solidarity for Survival. So that's asking folks to tag each other and kind of check in on each other. What we're doing with these hashtags is a few different things, and I can actually share a link in the chat to a doc that kind of explains all the different aspects of what's going on. But we are asking for folks to, we're launching a TikTok challenge on Earth Day with the theme No IDs. Some students wrote and recorded the original song. It's getting mixed now, and it's going to be on TikTok. They have a TikTok challenge, like a dance challenge, that they're inviting other youth to do or adults to do. We're also creating a music video, which is kind of going to be that song with some clips from different organizations, just short clips of them with signs kind of highlighting what they're fighting for as an organization. And then we have a bunch of other ways to get involved. This is mostly aimed at middle and high school students, but it's some other art builds, some live streams that people are doing. So a lot of our work has been around advocacy on the climate crisis and the intersectionality between climate and other social justice issues. And this particular event is really an online action to bring out that intersectionality in our own understanding, and to try to use platforms and tools that people will want to share and participate in, particularly the sort of middle to high school age range. So that's what we're working on.
Great, thank you, Carolyn, and all that is represented from our youth who are working hard on those initiatives and getting ready. So we're going to come back to this. We want to make sure to close out and tell you how you can get your youth and yourself to share your actions. But I want us to just quickly get into a breakout, because that was a lot of information, so that you can chat with some people and think about what stood out to you. And so let me see if this is going to work. I want to see if my pre-made breakout groups will actually get created. Doesn't look like it's working. Hold on. Recover. Yes. Oh, great. So we're actually going to put you with people that are kind of a similar role to you. So the room you should end up going to, like we have an elementary room, elementary teacher room, and a secondary teacher room, two partners rooms, and a parent group. So that should send you there, just so you can kind of, especially in your context and what you're working on right now, you can think about what really spoke to you. So I'm going to send you to those rooms now, and then bring you back right before 3 to close out with a few things. So have fun in your breakout rooms. Welcome back, everybody. I know the breakout room was short. It's never long enough, and a lot of different resources headed your way, but hopefully, you know, you met someone or you heard a name you want to follow up with. We just felt longer than an hour, and we're already at that right now, so we just bear with us a little longer to get through a couple more announcements. That'd be great. I'm gonna quickly pass it over to Shirley so she can share with you how you can use social media to share your actions and encourage the youth that you work with to share their actions, because that is definitely a way that they stay connected and get inspired, is through their social media accounts, and hopefully some of us as well. I'm still learning, and I'm excited to learn from Shirley right now.
Hey there, thank you so much for your time and staying a little extra. So over on to the next slide is just the first step, I think, in really creating some cohesion here. This is just like a small list of all the partners that are represented here and their accounts on each different, you know, platform. So if you're not already following our account or any of the other organizations, take a, you know, time to consider doing that so you can stay connected and updated on the various social media campaigns that we're all doing. So these are the handles to find us at. So the @ symbol, similar to like a book title, like where you could find places. And then next slide is just going to show you an example of a campaign that we did. So you can go ahead and search for City of Oakland. We're under City of Oakland and Sustainable Oakland, which is the Environmental Services Division. Pop that in the search bar. You can take a look on the right-hand side. It'll let you know it's grayed out if you're not already following it. And there's options to share this page, follow it, like it. Will kind of automatically link you up to following it. And you can change your settings if you don't want to get constant notifications there. On our most recent post, that's a pinned post. There you can see more information. So this educational activity is from Kids for the Bay. Personally, you can highlight kind of the action, which will kind of help you when you're creating your post later, just to remember what we're asking folks to do. There's several, you know, sections for stay-at-home activities. I was really interested in environmentalism at home and things that you could do there. Natural pesticides, cleaning up. I was interested in doing some scrap gardening, which I thought was brilliant. So just taking the ends of plants. It's also broken into an activity. So if you have younger folks at home that you wanted to walk through this exercise with, you can. Different ways to show your support there. You can go ahead and give that post a like, another, you know, reaction, and share it to your social media page, and then you just upload a short blurb. So for today's Earth Day challenge, I did this activity. I'm excited to see my green onions kind of grow. I took a picture of them in the sun. I included the hashtags Oakland Earth Day 2020, Earth Day 2020, which is part of the national campaign, and hashtag Volunteer Oakland. And then it popped up on my page, and folks were able to, see it, share it, and engage with it. So that's just one example. If you wanted to pop on over to the next slide. And again, just wanted to emphasize the importance of hashtags. The City of Oakland is pushing for 3, which is Oakland Earth Day 2020, Volunteer Oakland, so these are site specific or location specific, and Earth Day 2020, which is the national hashtag being used, so that our stories and our posts, hashtags are similar to like a chapter in a book. So you could like find posts related to this thread of ideas and kind of campaigns that people are pushing. Similar to, these are just a few examples of some of the hashtags other organizations are using, hashtag OUSD and 20 Actions to Earth Day, Stop Waste, Rotary Nature Center, Cal Earth Day 50, Kids for the Bay, which was an example of one that I did. And these are all can be linked to your individual posts on your social media accounts to spread the word.
Yes.
And that was my 2 cents on that.
Thank you, Shirley. Social media for good. I'm starting to get convinced that I can use social media for good. I'm believing it. I'm believing it. All right, I'm just gonna skim over here. First of all, just a huge thank you for taking your time, even staying a couple minutes late as we close out here. Really want to keep the mantra alive of like Earth Day every day. So finding an action you can take next week, but then really thinking about how you can sustain that moving forward. And I tend to get really overwhelmed and want to learn everything and want to make sure I click every link and choose the best option. But in reality, I'm really learning also from what we're going through right now to live this quote from Arthur Ashe, which is just start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. So picking one thing is just a great first step, and I think it definitely involving our youth. And shout out to G, the owner of or organizer of Oakland in the Middle, which is one of our really successful Instagram pages. He'll be promoting this with our middle school youth as well, and he's all expert with that. So make sure to stay connected with us. Shout out to our OEA Environmental Justice Caucus. That's a group, if you're a teacher, you can get involved in to take your own individual action, but also think about curriculum. The OUSD ECHL team is working hard to provide you with resources and make sure we can get these things to you and provide professional development. And then we're really exploring how we can start more student earth teams or climate teams or whatever we want to call it or they want to call it. As well as some climate parents groups. So something that's in the future we really hope to do, and you can reach out to us. And all of our partners are always helping us. And so take action. We'll share these slides once again. I'll put them in the chat, but I'll follow up with you over email if you attended this, and we'll find ways to post this webinar and the resources. But you can follow these links, or for example, you could work with Mycelium Youth Network, Lil, to, do you want to share the classes that you can even participate in?
So we're running our Resilience in Pandemic Time series. We have about 110 youth currently signed up. We're looking for more educators to sign it up, but we're running free online classes, and our classes are built around conversations we had actually had with Youth versus Apocalypse when we asked them, right as we were creating our programming, what they wanted to hear about and what they wanted to learn about. And they said they wanted hope. They said they wanted a place to like grieve, to mourn. And they said they wanted like cool things that they could do right now. And so we're actually adding a couple more classes to that list. Right now we have a couple of educators, but our youth classes are specifically geared around like gardening and social emotional support. And so I spent a good chunk of yesterday picking up from people's porches soil, seeds, and little planter boxes so that any kid that wants to take this class will have the exact same materials as everybody else, right? To kind of like level the playing field. And then we'll all start growing seeds from scratch starting the week of the 24th for a couple of new gardening classes that we're offering at the middle school and high school level. And then we're going to offer another elementary school class just from things that they can use in their homes. And so if you are interested in having your students participate, it's completely free. And we're working to like match then youth, especially in Oakland, with direct resources. So again, that it's not like you have to have everything or your parents have to have everything. It's like we will have like a drop off and pick up site for you to be able to pick up all of these things. So we really want to promote it because we want as many young people as possible to know how to grow their own food from seeds. Because we're not expecting this to be the only time that a pandemic is happening, right? It's like scientists are already talking about it as a series of waves. So we want to make sure that young people know exactly what they need to grow in order to be able to do that.
Yeah, so an amazing example of things that we can have our youth participate in right away. And again, just recapping all those links for different ways you can take action and connect with the partners that shared today. So it would be great if you could take 2 minutes to fill out this really brief reflection form, because that might help us plan more targeted webinars in the future weeks coming up, or provide
I just bumped out again.
that you need. Sorry.
Just died.
Oh, that was Katie doing her celebratory goodbye when her internet stops. We're always a little thrown off, but I'm getting used to it. So if you could fill out that form just real quick before you're leaving. And just another reminder, if you want to stay on the call, Brazil and the student ambassadors are going to pop in and lead us through something, but we'll kind of just leave this 2-minute window for anyone to say goodbye. But you can stay on the call if you're interested in taking action immediately, briefly with this. And just a big thank you for everybody that came on the call today, and we'll follow up with you, and we're excited to see your actions via hashtagging and all that good stuff.
Well, thanks, Sarah. That was great. Thanks, everybody. That was really inspiring. And yeah, I'm just going to share it all around like crazy. Okay, see you. Bye.
Bye, Janan. And if you have specific questions, you can always email me, and I can connect you. I'll put my email in the chat with any particular thing that stood out. So if you're hopping off, it's been a long time in front of the computer, we understand, but again, you can stay on. In about 30 seconds, I'll pass it over to Brazil and our student ambassadors to share.
Okay, I just want to give folks enough time to complete that survey. Sarah, would it be possible to share or have one of our student ambassadors share their screen so that we can do our presentation?
Yes, as far as I understand, oh, am I mute? Okay. I'm gonna stop, I'm gonna stop recording for now.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.